And here we go, remainder of my all-important speech. Automatic captioning has been enabled for this meeting. To turn captions on or off, click the CC/live transcript button in the menu bar down at the bottom if you're using a PC, and adjust your settings. Our panelist is spotlighted so you can see the entire panel at once when you're in the speaker view. If you want to see everybody in the Zoom, use the gallery view. Your microphone has been muted on entry and currently requires permission to unmute. Please enter your questions in the chat box. So James has said that he will talk and go through a slideshow presentation about the software for the first 15 minutes, and then the next 30 minutes he will demo the software, and so we will have a live question and answer session at the remaining 15 minutes. Thank you, and we'll start the panel now. Over to you.
Thanks very much. Hello, everybody. Let me just screen share. Right. If I do desktop one, you'll briefly see my Zoom window. Right. And I press this. Okay. Hopefully you can see my the slide I'm sharing. Hope everybody is keeping well this evening. So this is about ConReg, which is a open source registration system that I've been developing. So I'm going to start with a teeny bit about me. I'm not going to go into very much. My name is James Shields. I've been going to conventions since 1991, and I've been involved in running them since '93. And I've been building registration systems since the year 2000. I live in Ireland, and I've been involved with lots of different conventions, the Irish National Convention, Octocon, some Eurocons and Eastercons, and even Worldcons. So I'm going to start with a little bit about what we want, or how do we do convention registration. So the basic thing we want with convention registration is people want to join our convention, and we need to find out their details, and we need to get their money. So there's lots of ways we can do this. We can use paper forms, and I know there are still conventions that their registration system is a PDF form that you fill out and email or post, and you can then send the money with PayPal or a check. We can also do web forms that you fill out and submit, and you can have very simple web forms that just generate an email message to the convention runners, or you can have slightly more advanced ones that put the information in a database, or you can have forms that are connected to a payment system. Usually these things have a low level of automation, so there's generally quite a bit of manual tracking of who's submitted forms and who's paid. So that can be quite a bit of work for the membership admin team. And then a slightly different approach you can take is there's lots of off-the-shelf shopping cart systems, which are a way of doing it. I generally find this a little bit unsatisfactory. Generally speaking, shopping cart systems are designed with, you put a product in a cart, you take your cart to the checkout and you pay for it. And generally speaking, it can be tricky to get them to take the sort of information we want about members that a convention wants, but it works. I know it works for some conventions, and it's definitely an option. And then we can look at dedicated registration systems. So what advantages will that give us? Hope the general aims would be, first of all, your payments and the member details are linked, so we know who has paid, and it generally cuts out a lot of manual work to do that. Member receives a confirmation, hopefully automatically. There's various management functions, so for tracking who's joined and what options they've selected. And members can have self-service ways of looking after their membership information. So if they've moved address, they can update their contact information. If they want to change their badge name, they can, that sort of thing. So I'll just give a brief history of ConReg. So I've been involved. Well, the first attempt I did at a registration system started with Octocon in 2000, which is the Irish National Convention. So I built a form using Perl, and it was all very, very basic. It basically took the membership information, put it in a database, and it was very dodgy from a data protection point of view, because we had no SL cert on the site, and we took people's credit card information without any security or encryption and stored it in a database. And then one of the committee walked around to a friend who owned a little shop that had a credit card machine, and they processed the payments for us. So it was all highly dubious, and I wouldn't recommend doing anything like that. So after a year or two, we moved on a bit, and we got a PayPal form, or we added PayPal to our form, and that was definitely a better approach. Unfortunately, at the time, Ireland didn't, or PayPal in Ireland let you make payments, but they didn't let you transfer payments out of your PayPal account to a bank account. So what we were doing was we were transferring the money to various committee members who were using it for their online payments, and they were reimbursing the convention. Or so, and a couple of years later, PayPal did properly support Ireland, and we then were sending it to the bank account. But that so I was less involved a few years later, and so I think they moved to a different system. But then the next thing I was involved with registration for was Eurocon in 2014 in Dublin, and I bit off more than I can chew with this one, I will say. So I came up with an ambitious system that managed members and tried to do a lot of clever things. Unfortunately, I was also co-chair of the convention, and the thing I learned was, chairing a convention is a lot of work. So chairing a convention and writing a software project in your spare time is even more work. And I made the project too ambitious and just didn't get it ready in time, and we ended up using a much simpler shopping cart system that had a lot of manual work, but at least it got our members in. So after Eurocon, I went back to the drawing board, and I basically redesigned it and basically made it as simple as possible. And I was in 2016. I started. There was a convention called Lazar Lyricon, which is a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams convention, and they wanted a registration system, and they said, "Can you have it ready? Can you have it ready in two weeks' time?" And I'm sort of, I'll try, and that didn't quite come to pass. So I think I had it ready. I think I had it working in about 6 weeks, which I think was still an impressive achievement. But that was the basis of what I have now. But I have been building on it ever since. And so the next convention that took it on was Octocon again. And so I demonstrated it to their membership secretary, and she was, I think, she was asking various things about, how do you search for how do you search for the payment details, or how do you match that the payment is gone. So I've showed her these things, but it was sort of halfway through this, she realized sort of, oh, right, it does all the things that I have to do manually on our old system. It does automatically. And it's suddenly realized this is going to save her a massive amount of work. So she was happy. And then I think in 2017, it was used for EasterCon. And it was then also used for, so it's been used for, I think, 5 of the last 6 EasterCons. It's currently in use by TitanCon in Belfast. Unfortunately, they've been using it for a couple of years, but unfortunately they haven't actually managed to have a convention due to COVID. So, so I think they've put off their convention twice as a result of that. And it wasn't used for this SMOFCon. So those are conventions have been using it. So a quick rundown of some of the features. So the basic one is member registration. I have been trying to make everything in the registration process configurable, so it's not tied to what any one convention does. I'm sure it doesn't do everything that every convention wants, but I've tried to make it as versatile as possible. The payments process through Stripe. It generates a confirmation email, which is fully customizable. It allows extra paid add-ons to your membership. So a typical one is a lot of conventions now charge for posted progress reports. So there's several conventions using that add-on option. That if you want printed progress reports instead of email ones, you can pay an extra charge for that. I mentioned TitanCon on the previous page. One of the things they have is they have a bus tour the Sunday after the convention, and so there's an extra charge for that, which is handled as an add-on. Then it allows members to select options. So you can have lots of things that members can pick. For example, I want to be on program, I want to volunteer to help with the convention, and then if they want to volunteer if they want to volunteer to help, you can have sub options for what areas they want to help in. A lot of conventions now are having a generic tick box at the bottom saying I agree to the code of conduct. So it facilitates that. And there's a function where members can check their membership status. So I actually left out a feature that it can have a public membership list, which is automatically generated, and members can say whether they want to be listed on that. But if somebody hasn't opted to be on the public list and they want to check their member, there's a check membership form, which you enter an email address, because we don't want to give out that without except to the person who registered. So you enter an email address and it sends you an email confirming that whether you're a member or not. And then there's a member portal. So if you use the check membership function, the email you get has a link at the bottom that logs you into the member portal, and you can see all your details there. You can edit things like badge name, address, and if you picked something like a supporting member, you can upgrade to an attending member through that. And then there's features for administrators. So the first thing is when new members join, they go into an unapproved state, and they won't. So if they've opted to be on the public list, they won't appear on the public list until the admin approves them and check they haven't used rude words in their badge name or something like that. They can edit. The admin can edit any member details. They can there's various reports they can see on members. There's a fan table mode. So if you're promoting your convention at another con, the fan table mode is an easy way of, if somebody comes up to the table, says, am I a member? You can check that and say, I want to join. You can join through that, and you can accept credit cards, or you can accept cash. There's a there's a at-con check-in function, so you can when people arrive at the reg desk, you can check their status, you can find out their badge number to give them their badge, and you can mark them as arrived at the convention. There's a badge printing function which basically can give you printer ready badges to print out. There's lots of configuration customization options, and there's options for if you're a multi-year convention of starting a new event for each year. So the other thing it does is it integrates with various external systems. One example is the Zambia program scheduler or program planning tool. There's a project management tool called ClickUp that we've done an integration for. There's a reporting tool called Airtable. For Discord, some of the virtual conventions have wanted to send out customized or individual invitations to invitation codes to their members, so it can do that automatically. And so, sorry, I forgot to mention this is all built on Drupal, and one of the Drupal modules is called Simple News for sending out emails. So it can automatically add you to Simple News email lists, and basically it's designed so that we can add more integrations on it very easily. So all of these are built as modules that can be enabled separately. Excuse me. So about hosting it, I mean, basically it needs a Drupal site to be hosted on. So one option is to do it yourself. Now, I will say Drupal does have a bit of a learning curve. It's the next version, so it's currently on Drupal 9, which has a bit of a reputation for being difficult to host. It uses a command line tool called Composer, which can be it takes a learning curve. The next version 10, has an initiative they call Easy Out of the Box, and it takes a lot of the things that Composer does manually and brings them into the core of the application so that they're all done in the background through the web server. So a lot of the stuff that's currently has to be done manually with Drupal hosting will be done automatically in the future. So you can configure your site to automatically download updates when your system updates when they come out. So it cuts out a lot of the most difficult parts about hosting a Drupal site, and I think it's going to be reaching the point where it's a similar level of difficulty to hosting WordPress. But most of the conventions that have been using ConReg, I have been managing the hosting for them. So I've set up a dedicated hosting site for them, which I've done for them at cost, and I continue to do that in general. I'm not aiming to make a profit out of it, but I guess if a lot of conventions were looking for it, I would probably have to charge something that more reflects the amount of time I'm putting into it. So what I'm hoping to move to in the future is a model where there'll be a self-service system that you can log in, create an account, and set up a web a registration site for your convention. Initially, that will be on a set domain. I would hope to be able to do custom domains with it later on, and it will probably be a limited options for theming it. So with the current site, with a dedicated site, you can do any theming you like on a Drupal site, and I can make most Drupal sites. A lot of conventions use a WordPress site or something else. Although it is definitely an option to, and a few conventions have run their whole site as a Drupal site and had the registration integrated into that. But it's very easy to put ConReg on a subdomain and make it theme it so it's very similar to the main site. So that's something that I would hope to improve in the future, and I would hope to make that available as something that is a reasonably low cost solution. So one of the things I want to stress is the software is all open source and it'll always be available freely. At the moment, I've been for work I do for sites using it, I've been doing on a fanish basis, and in the future, if I had a lot of conventions looking for it, I'd probably be charging something a bit more reflective of the time involved. But I want to make sure that it's always an option for a convention to transfer their registration to their own hosting, and that they'd never be locked into anything I do. So that's the end of the presentation part. So I'm going to jump into the demo. So this is a pretty much bare bones newly installed Drupal site. So there are a couple of modules I've enabled, but other than that, it's pretty much Drupal as it comes out of the box. So in order to install ConReg, we need to so we need to log into the hosting server, and I have some things. So we need to go to the modules directory, and basically the source code for ConReg is located on GitHub. And sorry, it's switching between applications is a little bit slower while screen sharing, which so this is so basically that command clones the GitHub repository, so that adds it to the site, so we can then go back to the web browser. and to enable the module, we go to the extend section, and I'm going to type ConReg, and so this is the ConReg module, and I'm going to click install. So that is installed the module. Now at present there is one manual step that I need to do before we can go further, which is basically so the next this step is basically creating the event in the ConReg database. So I will be making that happen automatically in the future. It just hasn't quite made it onto the list yet. So now that we've added ConReg, we have so we have a configuration. So basically, this is the ConReg event configuration. So this is the name of our event. So there are some details that I need to add in. So the payments are all handled through Stripe. Wait, that was not what I wanted to go to. So the first thing I need to do is tell ConReg the Stripe keys. So the great thing with Stripe is it's very easy to switch from a test mode to a production mode. You just have a different set of keys for each. So basically, it asks payment system. At the moment, the only option is Stripe. The Stripe keys, the currency that you're using for the convention, and the currency symbol. Then there's various information about members. There's the ability to set up upgrades of member types. The way that's done at the moment is a bit tricky. So that's something I'm going to be working on improving the user interface for. Again, badge types are related to member types, but the idea of badge types is you don't want, sometimes a lot of conventions will have a low income rate or a concession rate, and you generally don't want to display that information publicly. So we select the badge type for each member type, and so generally, we'd have several different types that we'd only show attending for. Then on the membership form, people can select how they want their badge name displayed. So that's what these options are, and you select what the default of those is, which is full name. You can set up what days the convention runs for, how many digits the member number will have. Then there's introduction messages that appear at the top of the web form. Communication method is how your member wants to receive communications. So on the default data, I've got electronic, paper, both. A lot of conventions don't do that anymore because they have a separate charge for paper progress reports, but display options is how you want to appear on public lists. So you can say whether you want full name, badge name, or not be on the list at all. So options I'll cover later, but basically that's tick boxes for things like I want to be on program. Display settings just sets how many members appear on a page. Reference is just what countries are on our country list. And if we tick this box, it will it'll automatically find the correct country from your IP address. So the submit button is just the label that appears on the submit button on the form. Then we have a thank you page that gets displayed after they've completed registration. There's some of these functions aren't very important, but multiple member discounts. One of the conventions wanted to offer one free member for every 5 you pay for. Check-in page is these are just options that are used when checking in members on to the convention. Confirmation email. So this is the template for the email that gets sent to members. And there's one thing I need to do here is I need to put in, sorry, the name is, we'll just call it demo. And so that's just the email that the confirmation email comes from. And then there's these are the messages that appear on the form to check your membership status. And then in the member portal, there's some options that you can choose what the member can edit and what they see. So I'm just going to save the changes I made to this. And I'm just going to touch on member classes. So the member class is, it specifies the labels on all the fields you can see. And so you can, so for example, there's the address field. And if you say we don't actually want, so I'm gonna actually say we don't need members' addresses. We will keep, oh sorry, no, that's county. We don't need postal code. We will keep country though. And we're not going to ask for phone number. We can specify what fields are mandatory, and we can specify if any of the fields have a maximum length. And I don't want any of these. So these are these kind of predate the options for system I have now. So I'll probably remove those extra flags at some point. Did I press the wrong button? Hang on. I just want to cancel that. Let me check. Yeah, okay. So I accidentally pressed clone, which makes a new member class. So the reason for member classes is you sometimes want different information about different member types. So I'm going to go to member types now. And at present, we just have an adult member type. And we only have one member class, which is default. But if we wanted to have a different member type that we got collected different information about, we can set that there. So I'm going to save configuration. So I'm going to jump back to the registration form now. So we basically select register, and we can register a new member. So I'm just picking a random name, and you have to have an email address for the first member. So as you see, there's only one member type they can choose from. And then on badge name, you can pick from from various options. And if you pick custom badge name, you can choose what badge name you're going to show. So I'll pick this one. You can say whether you want to be on the membership list. You can say if what progress reports, or whether you want electronic or paper progress reports, and you can select your country. And currently I'm in Portugal, and it's detected that. So I'm going to continue the payment. So this disappears for a few seconds, and then we get transferred to Stripe. I used to collect the payment details directly here, but a few people were saying that, how do we trust you're not harvesting our credit card details? So I do this through a Stripe checkout. So it goes through a form on Stripe, which means that nobody has to trust that my system isn't secretly collecting credit card information. So in some ways it looks a little less professional to be switching to a different site, but in another, I think the plus side is that it means it's more trustworthy, that people can trust it's not doing anything it shouldn't be. So I've just used all 42 as the sample credit card number, which works on the test site. So, and then when you complete, it says thank you for joining. Ooh, it shouldn't say event name there. And it gives you a reference number. And I will just nip into my email. And have I done that wrong? It's possible the email, sometimes the email gets sent to spam, but let me just check. Yeah. So I used so I'm routing the emails through Amazon Web Services, which is usually very reliable, but sometimes it just triggers something in a spam filter. So that sends confirmation details, and let's go back to this. So I'm just going to go to the membership admin, and I'm going to approve that member. So that they now appear on paid approved members. We can also do a custom search, which obviously gets more useful as your convention has more members. So that finds that. And I'm going to go back to this, and we can go to list members. So this will show us the public member list, which is of 1 member. So I'm going to skip ahead, and I know I've been involved in 1 or 2 conventions where I've been running. We had a plan was to make to use only online registration, and suddenly the treasurer turns up and said, "I took 100 members on paper forms at the last week's convention," and so we then have to try and import them. So I have a spreadsheet with a bunch of members. So I am going to, oh yeah, I've got that selected. So I'm selecting, and of course that didn't do what I wanted. And so I'm going to now insert 100 members into my database. No. So if I refresh that now, we should have a whole lot of members. And when we scroll down to the bottom, you see it gives you a breakdown by country. So we can look at some of the other bits. There is a useful membership summary. So this shows you a breakdown of lots of information on. Oh yeah, so there are various in the data I've imported. There are various member types, but we only have 1 member type on our system at present. So if we go back to the configuration, sorry, we go back to configuration and we go to member types. So we've got adult member is default. If we clone adult, so I'm going to give C as a code and child as a member type, and we confirm them. So now we have adult and child as our member types. And we can set, so and we leave them attending. But one thing I'm going to set for child members is if I turn off this checkbox, it means that a child member cannot be the first member in a group that joins. So you can join several members at once, and the first member has to be an adult. So I'm going to go back now, and we can see our children are now listed as child. So there's several other member types we could set up there. So we can set it up so that people can join for Saturday only. We can set up other things. So one other thing that it does is on the member summary, it shows you a breakdown by month. So on the data I imported, there's a date that they joined, and it sort of spreads it out over the year and shows how many joined each day, each month. So there's other bits that, so this is going to be a brief summary on some of the features. So there's a lot that I haven't covered, but one feature that can be quite useful is fan table registration. So here it again gives you a summary of how many people joined. On it again has a search box, so we can look for somebody in this, and it will give everybody that includes Sam in their name. And oh yeah, this is a good example actually that you can see that several people joined together, and it shows them all as a group. And then it has the ability to add new members, and when it adds people at first, they appear in this list waiting a payment, and you can select which ones are paying, and you can either say pay by cash or credit card. I'll go to the other thing I will just briefly show, oh, actually two other things I'm going to show, and then we'll wrap up. So this is the member check-in. So when you're at the convention, you can again search for a member, and so again it'll show us the people that are showing, and can I so I can say Sam Spade has arrived. I can say check in, and it shows basically it shows the people that I checked on the previous page, and I can say confirm checked in. So I'm going to cancel that for now. The last thing I just want to briefly show is the badge function. So we have a menu down here for badge printing. So this basically generates badges ready to print. So it shows it shows all the details and badge names, and this is all customizable. Now at present, the way it's customized is through a CSS style sheet. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to just nip up to the appearance section. So it happens I have a style sheet or a template called SMOFCon Europe, which is for this. It's basically the theme for this SMOFCon. So if I now go back to site, it's going to take us back to the badge page. You'll see that the top of the site has changed, but also the badges have changed and show all the details, and that's interesting. Oh yeah, sorry, I think that will actually fix itself. So there's oh no, that one didn't. Okay, so usually it works. I've just found a case that didn't work very well, that it will style the, it basically sizes the names to fit in the box that it's defined for them, and that one has gone a bit wrong. So that's something for me to look at after this. But yeah, it printed all the badges for this convention without any problems. And you can also, if you want to have blank badges for people who walk in the door, you can tell it to print an extra number of blanks at the end. And so at present it can do pretty much anything that you can think up in a CSS style sheet. In the future, I'm planning to oh, now it is named, it is most fitted that one correctly, but I'm planning to make it have a drag and drop badge designer that so that you can do it, you do it on the fly and not be relying on CSS coding for it, but that's for the future. So I'm going to wrap up the demo part here. What I'm planning to do is make this demo site available for anybody who wants to play with it. So I'm going to set up a user that has access to the ConReg admin functions, and it's possible to break things. So I'm going to make it so that the site is going to rebuild itself every hour, so you can try stuff out, break anything you want, and if anything breaks, just come back an hour later and try again. And I'm very happy to field questions. So if anybody has any questions now, please jump in.
You've got a couple of questions in the chat thread. If you want to hit those first, James.
I do. Can I find the chat? Hold on.
Either that or I can read them to you. It's up to you.
If you want to start reading them.
Okay, so from
No,
Claire
I'm in the wrong
Bothy, we
place.
have what's been the largest convention that this has been used for in terms of attendance?
Well, EasterCons are generally around 1,000 people. So I think the largest one would probably be Eterbium in 2019, which was, I think, around 1,100 people.
Okay, from Peter O. Will the emails be sent in simultaneous plain text and HTML? I know a few people who refuse to read HTML only formatted emails.
That's a very good question. I'm pretty sure it puts a plain text version in the email. I haven't tested that recently, so but it should do. It's something that I might need to look at again. So, and if anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask questions, I'm very happy to do that.
Okay, one last question from the chat.
Yep.
It says from Claire, how does it handle changes in membership rates? Does the database record both what was paid for and the amount paid?
Yes. So yeah, it remembers, it records the amount of each individual payment. So you can update the rates anytime you like. At the moment, there's no facility to. I'm going to stop sharing, and maybe that will let me see the chat window. Aha. So yeah, it records what you paid and the membership type. And if you update the membership rates on the system, it will only affect ongoing members. So my intention for the future is to make it so that you can queue up membership rates for particular dates. So, 1st of January, we will up our membership rates. But I haven't done that yet. So at the moment, when you want to change the rates, you have to just change them, and it will affect members going forward.
All right, I've enabled everyone to unmute themselves. As a courtesy to our panelists, if you will use the electronic reaction of raising your hand, as opposed to raising your hand in the video, it'll order you in the, it'll sort you in the order that you raise those electronic hands, and that'll make it easier for James to answer you in order.
Cool. So.
And yes, you are able to unmute yourselves at this point.
So, sorry, I'll just add that I will put the login details into the Discord, so you can play with it. So I don't know if there's any more questions.
Well, I do have a question while everyone's sorting themselves. Is there any grenadine integration planned for this?
I would say planned, not at present, but if somebody had a need for it, it's definitely something that I'd be happy to look at.
Where's the hand raised?
Okay, Peter has his hands raised.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, and nice to put a face and a voice to the name. We've been slacking for a while, but never.
Sure, Peter. Thanks for coming, and nice to see you.
All right, Alex is next. You'll have to unmute Alex.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Okay, so I was just gonna say, when I created a registration for system for Sasquatch, I had a table with products and dates so that when a membership type changed, it would just update automatically.
That is something that's something on my future plans, but it's something I haven't done just yet.
Yeah, it's just a database thing. And I know that with sending email with HTML and plain text, that was just a MIME type. You got to send the email in 2 parts.
Okay, I think the email plugin that I'm using handles that. So I just haven't checked it recently.
I always like seeing what people are doing, because I've done it for a couple of World Cons. So.
Yeah, so this hasn't been used for a WorldCon yet, but maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, and I hate to interrupt, but we are now at the end of our time.
Okay.
We can continue this conversation in the Discord chat if you guys would like to.
I'm happy to continue in Discord. So thank you. Thanks everyone for coming, and I hope you found it interesting. And if anybody is I'm always happy to chat more about it and to take questions, and feedback and feature requests are always of interest. So thanks very much, everyone.
All right, thank you all.
Cool.
We'll see you later on the convention. And
Thanks
we're going to
again.
end in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.